Hi, welcome to Ben and Barry on football. This is going to be our top five show. Um, Remember, if you're just visiting us for the first time, to take a look at the subscriber button below and click that, and also click on that notification bell so you'll know when we send out our videos. And what we're going to do in this particular segment is we're going to talk about the top five. Now, our show is based on the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and we're going to look at those net point rankings in the top five, but we're also going to look at what makes up the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, which include your points for and your points against. And basically, the net point power rankings is that differential between what the teams are scoring and the points that they're giving up. And then in addition to that, we're going to talk about the next, what we call the most important stat in football, turnover. So we're going to look at turnover differential and the top five in that area. So my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. My partner here is
Ben Dickerson. I believe in the net point power ranking.
and he also is our little our fantasy guru. I get a little bit more into Madden, but that won't come into an account too much until we do our next show. And our next show is going to be talking about the actual matchups for the upcoming Week 9 in the NFL. And there's some exciting things that are going to be happening in that show. But for right now, let's get started. You ready to get started for the top five?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, let's get started for the top five here, and I'm going to share some information with you guys. Ready, set. All right, here we go. So right now, what you're seeing is this is the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings Facebook page, and we have the net point top five for the completion of Week 8, right?
That is correct.
Halfway through the season.
Yes, and as you can see, the cream is beginning to rise to the top.
The cream is beginning to rise to the top. And let's start off with number five, the Saints, who have 51 net points. Now the Saints have been pretty hot, and we know, so that looks normal.
Yeah.
Number four hadn't been in the top five yet this season.
No, but as predicted by us, the defense has been playing better and they're beginning to surge.
The scoring, especially once they got all of their players kind of lined up a little bit back, and then when they got Josh Gordon. So now they have their weapons in place. Tom Brady being the main weapon,
Absolutely.
the coordinator of all of that.
Edelman's back.
Edelman's back. And so they're scoring. We'll talk a little bit about more and about who's really doing all the scoring. This team has been in there, number three, all season. Now they stumbled a little bit this week.
I believe they've had two hiccups, this past week being one of them. But they're hanging in there. They're hanging in there.
And for good reason. We'll talk about that good reason in some of the next top five that we talk about, because they're going to show up again, I do guess. So we have number two, Kansas City Chiefs. The Patrick Mahomes factor.
So much offense. They almost have so much offense it covers up their defensive.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of,
it
actually does that. So even if we go back to the Saints, because the Saints have sort of the same situation, because they're not in the top five on defense. As a matter of fact, the Saints are 15th on defense. They've given up 183 points. The Patriots, they haven't been exactly defensive stalwarts. Also, when we look at them relative to defense, Patriots are right down there near the Saints. They're ranked 16th. So the Saints are 15th and the Patriots are 16th. They've given up two more points than the Saints did, 185.
Right.
So you got very similar producing defenses there between the top two teams.
And you have the opposite dynamic going on with the Ravens.
We'll talk about the Ravens, absolutely. Before that, I did want to mention the Chiefs, because we did talk about the Mahomes factor, but the Chiefs are ranked 23rd in defense. They're literally tied in terms of number of points given away with your New York Giants.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to hurt the Chiefs fans' hopes anymore that much. That's not a good comparison.
What happens is when it comes time to playoff ball,
yeah, they're going to have to play better.
They're going to have to play better. You can't be 23rd in the league and really expect to get through a serious playoff contention. I mean, Mahomes is good.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that good.
I don't know.
That might be a question.
I don't know.
There might be a question.
I mean, he's playing MVP good.
Yeah, and I said in our last show, I said, hey, I can see a tremendous amount of turnover in the next few seasons at the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because when you have a guy come in who's young and that good, and then you look at Goff, you say young and that good, right? And then you got guys who've been around for 5-10 years, right, who are nowhere near that good, right? You got to have some turnover, but you don't find those guys.
Not to get too far into it, talk about Goff, talk about Mahomes. They have two things in common, which sometimes we kind of discuss and argue. These are quarterbacks that were drafted as quarterbacks of the future and had at least one season to sit the bench and watch and learn.
The Goff really sit the bench, he kind of came out early and kind of stomped it out there.
Oh yeah, forget I said that.
Well, anyway, speaking of Goff,
he got thrown into the fire. In fact,
yeah. But he got thrown. But he under different coaching.
Right, and then he got him. So it's almost. Go ahead, man. Keep going.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm reading a lot in the media, and they're talking about that these teams are now going out and they want to find the next coach, like
the next genius coach.
Like they're somewhere on trees. I could go pick them off,
And they're obviously not.
They're obviously not. They're few and far between. Yeah, that you can find that level of coaching. But the Rams are in first place in net points with 109, a healthy, 24 points ahead of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can be in that situation is going to kind of show up in the next few slides. So let's go to the next top 5. Scoring offenses. Look who's at number 5. Mr. Luck, putting up 231 points so far. Not far behind the number 4 Saints. Why you laughing? That's so funny.
Disclaimer. I know I was riding Andrew Luck early on.
Oh, yes, you
I was really getting on him. Throwing the high school football.
Has he thrown the football yet?
Yes. But I must admit, and kudos to their training staff, they brought him along slow. They knew what they were doing. He looks like the Andrew Luck of old. Now they got to start building that team around.
The only thing I'll say about looking like the Andrew Luck of old is he's going to have to slide a little bit better. He's putting himself right.
He's going to be right back in the hurt again. Yeah, but
and that's the thing. But again, we have this new environment that favors offense.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to go back and kind of look at the scoring, but just in listening to accounts in the media, they right now the NFL scoring at an unprecedented level.
Oh yeah.
So the point scoring and everything is up. As a matter of fact, as I look at this, I don't know if I remember seeing a top 5 at the halfway point where everybody was already in triple digits in terms of scoring. So we'll take a look back on that. But the Colts at 231. In 4th place, you have the Saints at 234. In 3rd place, you have the Patriots, with 239. So that's pretty close. That's only an 8-point swing between the 3rd and 5th place. And then the Rams are coming in at 264. So the Rams can put up some points, no doubt about it. We know that. That's what we were saying. And obviously, the Chiefs here in 1st place, putting up 290 points for the first half of the season. So I mean, that's some serious scoring. And as I said, in order for the Chiefs to be 2nd in net points, they had to really be scoring at that level because their defense, as I said, 23rd, giving up 205 points. So out of 32 teams, they're 23rd. They're in that bottom third or so in terms of defense. But that offense is an amazing thing. Let's look at your defenses now. I would usually like to bring up the caveat that maybe a couple of these teams might have been on the bye, so they're going to be low in terms of having points scored against them. They also be low in terms of scoring points.
Yes.
So, net point wise, they could still be doing pretty well. But number 5, and that's why these guys have stayed in the top 5 in terms of net points, is your Baltimore Ravens with 137 points given up so far.
Right.
Redskins playing decent defense.
It's surprising. There's a lot of angst going around with NFC East fans. I don't think anybody predicted this unless they were a Washington fan. I mean, it was a toss-up as to who's going to be last in the division, and the Redskins team was in that.
Yeah.
But
Redskins are playing
at least within the division, they are doing their thing.
Now the Redskins, let's see here, in terms of scoring, where are they? Now they're 26.
So they're down.
They're down in terms of scoring, 146. But you're gonna have to put up a few more points than that. They're actually 4 points below your Giants.
Right. Well, why do the Giants have to be the measuring stick?
Well, because the Giants.
Why can't the Raiders be the measuring stick?
Well, because you're a Giants fan, not a Raiders fan. So I can throw it out there at you.
Touche.
As a point of reference.
I got
because
you.
we keep an eye on the Giants.
I got you.
The Giants have, what do we call them? Gift.
Yeah.
We keep an eye on the Giants. You're close.
Okay.
Now, again, you don't want to compare them to my beloved 49ers. No, they're not that low. My beloved Niners are all the way at the bottom, swinging out with the right side.
Yeah, I guess they are in a position where you can kind of use them as a measuring stick between they got hope and they don't have hope. Okay.
You guys still have hope, in my mind.
Hope for what? Hope to close out the season better than they started it?
Yes, let's see.
There you go. Let's leave it like that.
Let's hope for that. All right. My sleeper squad, number 3. Yes.
Kudos to you for calling the sleeper at the beginning of the season when it looked like they were going to be like, oh my God, what happened to the Seahawks? Here they come.
Couple hints. No one, again, my Niners are in that same division. So, you kind of, I keep an eye on those guys. You've seen them. We have Richard Sherman. So we actually have some Seahawks, and we have Michael Smith.
Right.
We have 2 Seahawks defenders on our team.
Right.
And, I had to deal with the Legion of Boom all those years.
Right.
But they're playing pretty decent on defense. Let me take a quick look at the Seahawks here defensively. That's where we are.
That's what we're looking at.
So let's look at them offensively. Seahawks. Okay. So they're 22nd. They put up 171. They're actually tied with the Lions in terms of points scored. So if they get what they got to run,
and 3 above the Giants.
Yeah, 3
Since
above
we're
the
doing
Giants.
this.
So again, they're a sleeper, but they're going to have to get that offense rolling a little bit more, a few more points. Yeah. But they, being that the Rams are in the division, so if in the craziness of what decides who's a playoff team, being second in your division might get you into the playoffs.
It could, maybe sometime in the near future or right before the playoffs begin, we can start to talk about who looks best for the wild cards in each conference. As a point of reference, as you look at the NFC East and everybody playing either well but not that well, like the Redskins, and then everybody else not playing that well, it's a pretty safe bet to say the wild card won't come out of the NFC East. In order to make the playoffs in the NFC East, you're going to have to win the division. So using that, then you go back and you look at the NFC West and say, second place in that division might get it done, but you got to look at the other divisions also. Wild cards they're a tough thing. They usually go down to game 17,
Okay.
or week 17.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, if they can hang in there with the Red Rams, yes, they have a good shot, and they do play the Cardinals twice.
And I'm not expecting.
I'm not even.
Beat them as a Niner. Cardinals is weird, you know, but I think
very weird.
They have my Niners in our number. Yeah. Yeah, them and what's his name, Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
as long as Fitzgerald's playing, then we probably won't win. Because that guy just
he's like Niners.
Niners
I'm having a game today.
You know, he'll be in a rocking chair. Niners will show up. He'll be like perking up. Titans, second place, 127. Well, you know, they're masters of low-scoring games.
That's true.
That's what that's true. You know, and you know they're not quite getting their run game together yet. The Titans, in terms of offense, where are they? They are
down. They're 31st.
Yeah, next to last. So there you have that dichotomy, almost like the reverse of the Kansas City Chiefs,
right?
Where you've got a 31st place offensive team only put up 106 points,
mm-hmm.
but in terms of what they've given up, there's in second place. You know, they've given up 127. Puts them still in the negative, but long story short, their defense is kind of holding the line between. For hope, holding the hope line, and just holding the hope line, the hope line, that maybe we can get our act together, score some points to, offset or to match what the defense is doing.
Yeah,
that's basically the Patriots situation. I mean, they're pretty steady in terms of scoring for the most part, but that defense seems to start out a little slow and they get a little bit better,
right?
A little bit better, and as that defense moves up, they move up in the net point ranking, and that defense now, again, you look at the Patriots, you talk about them defensively, where they at? Okay, so they're at 16th place, and like I said, the Saints are at 15th place.
Right.
So they're right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
They're a little lower than that early on, so they're moving up relative to defense, and if their defense is really going to find itself, and they're playing back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the number one team.
One thing. You look at number one and number two. Now, this is points against. Mm-hmm. So people saying, okay, points against, that's defense. You say, well, the number one team is the Cowboys. The number two team is the Titans. Neither one of these teams seems to have what you would call a really dominant, dynamic defense. So there has to be a modicum of ball control from their offenses to allow them to be in these low-scoring games, because it's not like they're dominating people. And I think when we move on to so there is hope, Cowboy fans and Titans fans. As bad as your offenses may look to right now, at least they're doing their part as best they can with the talent that they have to keep the games low-scoring and keep themselves in a position to possibly win games.
Absolutely. I mean, the Cowboys are ranked 27th in scoring with 140 points added so far. Now, they just added a new wide receiver.
Right.
Amari Cooper.
Yes.
And so we'll be able to kind of track his impact on their scoring, and whether or not they're going to be able to move up the scoring ladder.
Mm-hmm.
They can move up the scoring ladder, hold on defense,
mm-hmm.
Like they've been doing. And even if they have a bye, they're still playing pretty well. If you go down sixth place, you've got the Bears. Seventh place, you've got the Panthers. Eighth place, and we're talking about points against here.
Mm-hmm.
Eighth place, you've got the Rams. And ninth place, you've got the Eagles. And 10th, you've got the Chargers.
Right, and besides the Chargers, if you're playing fantasy, you would take any of those defenses if you had a chance over the Cowboys and the Titans. Right? Okay, that's why I said there's another dynamic going on within each of these teams. A little bit from the offense, and when we go on to the next category, which is turnovers, although you won't see them in the top 5, again, they're doing enough to make them viable.
And again, if you've got a run game, you can keep
the ball control thing. I'm talking
ball control, right? Controlling the clock, right? When you're controlling those assets, you can stay in games, right? Even when your offense isn't a high scoring offense. So now we're at turnover differential, and at number 5, there they go again, the Washington Redskins. So that's how you maintain yourself relative to defense. Redskins number 4. Yeah. Your LA Rams, and actually Chicago Rams and Washington 3, 4, and 5. They're all at 7, plus 7 in the turnover differential. So that's what good teams do. Now Seattle plus 10. Might not be the Legion of Boom, but they might have some pilferers. Yeah, some thieves. Some what? Pilferers. Yeah, it's easy for me to say. Pilferers. I was trying not to spit on this about. But yeah, Seattle. So their defense is getting the job relative to turnover. Absolutely. And the number 1 team has been the number 1 team since week 1. How crazy is that? And we'll talk a little bit about them in the next show when we do the matchups. Do we have to? No, I'm just kidding. But again, we were kind of high on them defensively. Yeah. Talent-wise, we found that they weren't exactly getting it done. I mean, if you look at the Browns, they're actually 26 in net points. They have minus 41 net points. The Browns are, where are they on offense? 24th, okay. With 169, one step above your Giants. Actually, 19 points ahead of your Giants. Yeah, well, there you go. But they're also 25th on defense. They've given up 210 points. So they've got... Yeah, so the turnovers are nice. But... Yeah. And again, half of them happened in game 1. Exactly. So, we have to keep that all in perspective. So, there we go. We have with our top 5 in net points, top 5 in scoring, top 5 in points against, and top 5 in turnover differential. And those are the leaders in those particular categories. Any last words on that? Not really. I would be curious to see, now that the defensive coordinator for the Browns is now the head coach, just maybe we might want to track and see how they're doing in each category. I don't know. He's going to have to move somebody up to offensive coordinator. I don't know who that's going to be. He's been a defensive coach his entire career, as far as I know. I'm sure the NFL has got their eyes and ears out to make sure that there's no bounties being put on people and payments to guys for knockout hits and stuff like that. You can't bounty anymore with the new rules. How are you going to bounty somebody? I know you can't, but he was doing it and he was getting away with it until they busted it. I guess it's like, okay, look. Now he's got a last place team. Let me show you exactly what you need to do to break that leg. That's what he didn't care how you did it. Yeah. Knock a guy out of the game, you got like $100. Dude, that's free money. That's like you and me betting Niners Giants and we bet $1. If I win, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna take your $1 and I'm gonna be smiling. Okay. All right, let's go. I can't argue. Remember to visit us on our other social media. We have Facebook, Ben and Barry, on football.com, or Ben and Barry Football. Now on Facebook, also the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings on Facebook, and both Ben and Barry on football and the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings on Twitter. Thanks a lot. See you in the next show.